Here's everything toxic Bezos' little bookshop did in 2022. In January, a US Labour board said that Amazon illegally fired union organisers in New York City and issued them with a £50 fine, which is the real-world equivalent of that bit in Life of Brian where we call our overlord Jeffrey a very naughty boy.
Now look, he's not the Messiah, he's a tax-efficient corporation.
In unrelated news, Amazon abandoned its Twitter bot army. These accounts were tweeting positive things about the company to try and stop potential unions forming. You know, instead of spending that money improving their workers' lives and conditions. It was reported the staff behind the accounts were selected for their sense of humour, and their replacement bots were selected for their improvement to the company's bottom line. A spokesperson said, "We would have gotten away with it too, if it wasn't for you meddling unions." And finally, in proof that slavery doesn't end, it just moves, a whistleblower in a Chinese factory that makes Alexa products demanded an apology after being jailed and tortured for speaking up about the poor working conditions in the factory. Given that Bezos won't answer this question directly, we've got another option. Alexa, are you sorry you tortured him?
Sorry, I can't find the answer for that, you prick.
Fair enough. In February, Amazon announced they would be increasing the cost of Prime membership from $10 to $20 a month to cover the cost of Bezos' next super yacht. Costco, a company known for treating its employees with respect, announced its profits, and the CEO was asked why they don't put up the membership fee. He simply replied, "We don't need to do that." That's it. That's the tweet. It was then reported that Amazon has been given $4.7 billion in subsidies worldwide, leading to a lot of people to shout at Bezos that he should pay his taxes, which he should. But taxes are not the same as subsidies. Tax breaks are not taking money. Subsidies are giving money. So a better headline would be, the richest man in the world has been gifted nearly $5 billion to help his little online bookshop grow over the last decade. Yes, that's $470 million per year. Every year. We'll be waiting a while for the trickle-down effect of that money, unless of course we count the overflowing jugs of piss from all of their drivers. Then an Amazon union buster, which is apparently a job in 2022, warned workers that joining a union could mean their pay would drop. You'd think if joining a union meant that their pay would drop, Amazon would be all for it. Then Mouse, the legendary graphic novel in every sense of the word, a non-fiction book which showed the author's father's Holocaust survival, was banned by a school in Tennessee, which led to a rush of online sales, resulting in it topping the Amazon bestsellers list. People quickly made comparisons between Putin and Hitler, and just a few weeks later, Putin declared an unjust war on Ukraine. So maybe Putin ordered a copy and used it as a manual rather than a warning from the past. In March, Amazon purchased MGM Studios for a budget-friendly $8.5 billion. I mean, at that price, you can't afford not to. The deal added 4,000 films and 17,000 TV shows to Prime, including James Bond, the highest-grossing film franchise ever. 00 Prime? Nah, Jeff's more of a Bond villain. I can see it now. The benefits are not enough. Live and let die on the job. No time to pee. It was then revealed that Amazon suppliers were linked to forced labour in China. Yeah, there are millions of third-party sellers. Of course this happens. Shut up, Barry. The article was specifically about factories creating the Amazon's Basics range. It's almost as though everything we love is somehow linked to slavery. But hey, if we want cheap stuff, somebody has to suffer. In unrelated news, Amazon staff in the UK complained about a real-term pay cut, and US delivery drivers asked for a pay increase to help cover the cost of petrol. But because all of these employees are freelancers or zero-hour contract workers, Amazon ignored their requests and left them on red. We were then told that Amazon uses dark patterns, full video on how they work here, to trick people into signing up for Prime membership, and then uses more dark patterns, it's still linked below, to make it harder for people to quit Prime. By making them jump through more hoops than a dog at Crufts, cancellations dropped by 14% according to leaked data.
I want to quit the gym.
They called it Project Iliad because their aim was to put users through an odyssey in order to cancel. If you don't get that joke, read a book, or the Wikipedia page, which is also linked below. But it's not all bad news. Prime members will soon get free in-game content from World of Warcraft and other Activision Blizzard games. And by free, they mean it's covered by the increased Prime monthly fee that we talked about back in February. How kind of them. April kicked off with a headline that I originally thought was an April Fool's Day prank, as Staten Island fulfillment workers voted to become the first warehouse to unionize in America, even though Amazon spent $4.3 million on anti-union consultants in 2021 alone. How is that a job in 2022? This made them the first fulfillment center in America to do so. There's no joke here, I'm just happy for them. Clearly amazing news in its own right, but the media needed to spice it up to get some clicks, so claimed it was by a landslide, even though it was only by a margin of 500 votes. Interestingly, the Washington Post was suspiciously quiet and didn't cover this story at all. How weird. Researchers then discovered that Amazon uses Alexa voice data to target you with ads. They also discovered that Google uses your search history to target ads to you. The Pope shits in the woods, and I am desperate for your attention and validation. So why not like this video and subscribe to the channel while you've got a moment now? I should say that Amazon has been doing this for a while, but it's actually an incredibly inefficient and inaccurate method of targeting us. I mean, it's much easier to assume things around the metadata around our actions. And look, just watch this video if you want to learn more about why your phone and other devices can listen to our conversations, but it's actually not worth their time. In May, Amazon installed AI cameras to monitor its delivery drivers. The only shocking part of this for me is that I assumed they already had cameras in their vans. Between this and Ring doorbells checking if parcels have been delivered, they now have more surveillance power than any police force. Just sit with that fact for a minute. Amazon shareholders then rejected 15 motions on workers' rights and the environment, but they have approved executive compensation, board members, and a stock split. Maybe they all just got confused and checked the wrong box. Has anyone checked if there was a dark pattern on the form? This is almost as bad as when Amazon was found to be selling a breast cancer awareness pen that came with a warning that it could increase your risk of cancer. That's real. This might explain why Amazon employees are quitting at twice the previous rate. Amazon are getting through people quicker than a guy on Tinder during Freshers Week. Next, Labour officials discovered that Amazon was threatening pro-union workers with wage cuts. It turns out half the job of being a billionaire is union busting, and now they're facing fines of up to $5. Amazon now has more fines than Ross did in Series 4 of Friends.
I'm fine. Fine? I'm fine. Fine. I'm fine. I'm fine.
And finally, Wicker, Amazon's encrypted chat app, has a child sex abuse problem? Who do they think they are? Snapchat? In June, American Whole Foods shoppers sued Amazon after they stopped receiving free delivery on Prime. It's almost like giant monopolies can change their terms of service at any point without any notice if it makes their shareholders more money. Someone should do a YouTube channel about this. It would do moderately well. Then a TikTok went viral showing Kindle owners how they can send back books after they've read them and get a full refund, costing authors millions. I can't imagine why that video was so popular in a recession. This was also the case on Audible, but you had to give a reason. And the most common reason for returning a book from the drop-down was, and I promise I didn't make this up, I thought I was getting a physical book. Can we stop the planet? I'd love to get off. A petition was started to make Amazon review this option, which had 73,000 signatures. But Amazon did the right thing and changed their policy. So now you can only return books for up to a year. And if you return too many books, they might ban your account. But they never said how many is too many, so problem solved? The Supreme Court overturned Roe Vs Wade, taking away abortion rights for millions of American women. Uncharacteristically, Amazon offered to pay for the travel expenses of employees who needed an abortion, but they limited it to people near the top of the executive chain. They also told their employees to respect the views of evangelical Christian staff, who celebrated the change in the law. Amazon allowed anti-abortion t-shirts to go on sale and limited how many Plan B pills women could buy from them. So, swings and roundabouts? It's almost like having a private healthcare company in charge of medical care is a bad idea. Full video on Amazon's healthcare plans linked below. And finally, while warehouse workers were trying to have their basic needs met, like toilet breaks, and not being hit with a cattle prod, a work-from-home engineer sued Amazon because they didn't cover the costs of his internet and electricity bills. He's the living embodiment of letting perfect get in the way of good enough. This is why we can't have nice things. In probably unrelated news, say hello to Amazon's first fully autonomous mobile warehouse robot called Proteus. Proteus? I think that's how you say it.
Proteus.
Proteus. Ah! What the fuck are you doing here? Well, seeing as we all seem to want a break from the video, why don't you take this opportunity to like and subscribe to the channel? It's the least you can do. I'm working my little butt off here. It moves products, checks stock levels, and has an inbuilt bottle to leak coolant, just like the human workers do. In July, the pride flags had barely left their Twitter avatar when Amazon blocked LGBT products in the United Arab Emirates, saying they need to comply with local laws. By LGBT products, they mean things like rainbow flags, anal lube, and male-to-male HDMI cables. Look, I totally understand that companies need to comply with regulations in countries they want to do business in, but a company the size of Amazon could easily have made a stance and said, nah, we're either selling everything or nothing. And this close to Pride Month, it really stung. Speaking of complying with things, Amazon finally admitted to giving police Ring doorbell data without users' consent. I smell a class action lawsuit. Only it's not that simple. They made it clear in their terms of service that they would do this and they didn't have to ask for users' permissions. So the joke's on you, everyone who purchased a super cheap surveillance camera on Prime Day and didn't bother reading the 26,485 page privacy policy. I've done a full video on why it's impossible for us to read, let alone understand the terms of service agreements for the apps and devices that we use. You can find it linked below. You should always think, if the data isn't on your hard drive, it's not your data. But hey look, it's not all bad news. The EU has forced Amazon to make it easier to cancel Prime subscriptions in Europe, putting an end to the era of manipulative dark patterns. Oddly enough, the Washington Post went with a different angle on this story, with the headline, EU makes it harder for us to keep charging customers for a service they no longer want or need.
Once more for the people at the back.
If you can sign up with a few clicks, you should be able to cancel with a few clicks. Amazon then allegedly instructed New York workers to not sign union cards. Not suspicious at all. According to an employee called David, there was a carousel of anti-union posters trying to put people off signing the cards. This publication claimed they only used his first name to protect him, as if Amazon aren't above going into the warehouse and firing everyone called David on Monday. In unrelated news, Amazon is the best place to work, according to LinkedIn. Someone clearly left off a giant asterisk from that headline. To be fair, this article was on LinkedIn, and most people on LinkedIn work higher up than the warehouse staff, so they probably do like it. In even more unrelated news, the US government is inspecting Amazon warehouses over potential worker safety hazards. The word potential is doing a lot of the heavy lifting in that headline. Then Amazon executives discuss ditching their Basics brand to appease regulators. Or in other words, they've sold enough of that item that it's easier to stop making it than it is to admit they copied a better branded product and then undercut them until they own the whole market. Full video on how Amazon copies best-selling items linked below. In August, Whole Foods announced that you can pay for your shopping using your palm print. They can have this data when they pry it from my cold, dead... Oh, wait. Amazon One is the biometric payment system which works by linking your unique palm print to your credit card. What idiot called it Amazon One and not PayPalm? To help encourage early adoption, Amazon previously offered to pay people $10 for their palm print. So far, they've not replied to my email asking if they'll give me $2 for just my middle finger. Anticipating privacy concerns, an Amazon spokesperson said, "Customers' privacy is a foundational design principle for Amazon One." Call me cynical, but I don't believe you. This is the only palm reader I trust. Amazon then accused the FTC of harassing its founder, Jeffrey Bezos. Won't someone please think of the billionaires? Amazon has submitted a legal filing against the FTC for harassing former and current employees, including CEO entrepreneur born in 1964. The FTC is investigating Amazon Prime membership to see if they've been misleading people during the sign-up and cancellation process. Spoiler, they have. Later in the month, Amazon continued to push into healthcare by expressing an interest in purchasing Signified Health. Signified Health is a leading healthcare platform that leverages advanced analytics and technology to keep people alive for a price. Amazon is not alone in wanting to buy Signified Health, which is great news for their share price, which shot up as if Elon Musk had been tweeting about them. Signified is expected to sell for around $8 billion at auction. That's million with a B. Also, kudos to whoever wrote this headline. AI shakes up Parkinson research.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
You stay classy, San Diego.
And go fuck yourself, Stat News. Amazon is sponsoring a TikTok book club. On paper, this sounds nice, but never underestimate how much influence BookTok is having over people's reading habits. This year, Waterstones is having a BookTok festival, and most of their stores have a table dedicated to popular books on TikTok. BookTok is so popular, it has its own Wikipedia entry. And they don't just give anyone a Wikipedia entry. Trust me, mine's been deleted 5 times now. Book clubs are nothing new, but on TikTok, they're having a disproportionate impact on sales. Why? Well, me in a hat, I'm glad you asked. People buy from people, and with the rise of fake reviews on Amazon, this is a very clever way for them to get some good press for some of the books they're selling. It all comes down to trust, something currently TikTok has in abundance, with Gen Z picking it over Google as their search engine of choice. If I was feeling charitable, I'd say they're doing this because they feel bad for allowing people to return ebooks after reading them for a full refund. But I'm pretty sure it's not that. And finally, Amazon Studios say it will be making their version of America's Funniest Home Videos, using footage from Ring Doorbells. Well, this feels like an AI-generated dystopian headline. The show, called Ring Nation, although I prefer America's Funniest Surveillance, will feature videos from people's doorbell cameras and home security systems, which is expected to include everything from surprise proposals to animal antics, godlike corporate synergy, or dystopian attempt to make the surveillance state more entertaining. It really depends which side of the monopoly you fall on. Participants aren't even getting paid. It's completely voluntary. At least You've Been Framed gave you 250 quid for videos of your kids falling over, but I'm sure this is the last we'll hear about this.
Simon didn't know, but he would hear about this again.
It's September, and 40 civil rights organisations demand MGM cancel Ring Nation. I miss July. They said the harmful reality TV show has no good merits to exist, but Amazon seems to have left them on red, taking the all press is good press mantra to the extreme. Next up, Amazon's workplace safety chief then quit. Hands up who just discovered Amazon has a workplace safety chief. In unrelated news, we learned that Bezos' little bookshop was spending $3,000 a day on a union buster. They earned that paycheck by singling out and harassing union organisers. I feel like we're at the stage where you don't have to write accused of in these headlines. Go on, Daddy Bezos, sue me. You'll get nothing. But union busters weren't the only thing Amazon was splashing out on, as they purchased the robot hoover company Roomba for a budget-friendly $1.7 billion. That's about $9.60 in today's money. Full video on everything Amazon owns linked below. Privacy advocates then went a little mad, claiming this is the most worrying purchase Jeffrey has made. I feel like most of these headlines have missed off so far. Amazon plans to use the LiDAR function in the robot hoovers to map everything in your home. In other news, Prime members can now get their stuff delivered to their beds. This news story really sucks. And no, I will not apologise for that pun. And finally, we discovered that Amazon has 31 patents for a robot that is powered by your screams. No wonder Charlie Brooker has put Black Mirror on ice. How's he going to top that? For those of you not in the know, Astro is an invitation-only home surveillance robot that'll only set you back $1,500, and it will throw itself down the stairs when it's overworked, much like Amazon's real-life employees. In October, Amazon revealed a device that tracks your breathing while you're sleeping. Every step you take, every shit you take, Bezos is watching you. To be fair, which is not something I say often, the device, known as Halo Rise, does track more than just your breathing. To be even fairer, stop tracking my breathing while I'm sleeping! It also tracks room temperature, humidity, and light, as well as the breathing pattern of the person closest to it, with the goal aim of providing us with an insight as to whether we're sleeping peacefully or not. I think they've overlooked the fact that I always don't sleep peacefully when a lamp that cost me $140 is sending my breathing data back to Amazon. I'm guessing the device will be mandatory for warehouse workers, and they'll be penalised for not hitting a breathing quota. I'm joking, but I could honestly see a Black Mirror episode where people pee in their beds because they don't want their breath count to drop too low. Then Amazon raised their hourly minimum wage, costing them about $1 billion a year. Now, Call me cynical, but a quick Google search shows that the entry-level wage is going from $15 to $15.50, which just so happens to be in line with California's new minimum wage. And $1 billion probably is less than it will cost them if their employees unionize, not to mention the $4.3 million they'll save on anti-union consultants. Also, with inflation running at about 8%, that 3% increase will be gone before it even hits their bank accounts. So it's no surprise that one employee called the increase a joke. Then 3 fulfillment centers caught fire in 1 week. Does anyone know where Tyler Durden is? Then Amazon suspended 50 employees who refused to go back into the fire-damaged warehouses and finish their shifts. Well, at least they didn't fire them.
Congratulations! That's the worst joke of the video!
To be fair, a Supreme Court judge ruled that you could be fired if your employer ordered you to freeze to death and you refused. So if anything, Amazon is being moderate. And finally, Amazon shut down one of the largest online fabric stores, Fabric.com. There's no joke here. I'm all out of material. In November, Jeff Bezos was sued by a former housekeeper for making them work 14-hour days with no bathroom break. I mean, to be fair, when you take that job, you know there's not going to be a toilet break. What makes you think he's going to treat you any better, or worse in this case, than the warehouse staff or the delivery drivers? It got so bad that many of the housekeepers got UTIs from not being allowed to pee while at work. I'm starting to think Bezos has a fetish for not letting people pee, which is a very specific porn preference. He also made the workers climb in and out of bathroom windows so his family didn't see them. You know, like the Victorians did with extra hallways and tunnels for servants. Then Amazon dipped their toe into the home insurance market, and industry professionals said they were perfectly placed for it. And I'd have to reluctantly agree. They own Ring Doorbells, Alexa smart hubs, and most recently they purchased Roomba. Thanks to all of these, they have one of, if not the largest private surveillance system in the world. Who else is going to keep your shit safer? Between this and Amazon Healthcare, it's clear that Amazon is just expanding into any market that it can use to control more of our lives. Full video on Amazon's private healthcare plans linked below. Not content with launching an insurance company, they've also launched an insurance comparison website. But why would they do that? Well, me in a hat. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty confident this website won't be biased towards Amazon's own products. They've not got a long history in doing that. How did that article get there? And they probably won't use the data scraped from this website to offer us below market prices to undercut all the competition until they own the entire market. Sergey better watch out. Simples. Next, Amazon became the first company in history to lose $1 trillion. Have they checked down the back of the sofa? That's usually where I find stuff. To put that in perspective, that's about 990 Manchester United football clubs, or like 4 Freddos. How are they this expensive? Their loss in their share price is due to the company not growing as much as expected. Expected by who? Well, Gen Z me in a hat. Shareholders. They want constant growth because then they can get a return on their investment. Amazon might be the first company to lose $1 trillion, but the way Zuckerberg's going, they won't be the last. And finally, in Don't Celebrate Too Soon news, Dolly Parton got $100 million from Jeff Bezos to spend on charities. Full disclosure, I am a massive and unashamedly big Dolly Parton fan, so on paper, I'm over the moon that she's got a ton more money to spend on things like her imagination library. But this story has the vibe of your parents taking you for ice cream before they tell you they're getting a divorce. Because it was announced in the same week, Amazon is firing 10,000 employees. He's trying to control the news cycle, and I'm sure owning a newspaper is probably not hurting those plans. But Jeff is no longer the CEO. That's right, me in a hat. But he is the biggest shareholder with about 11% of the company. So he does have a bit of a vested interest in making it look good.
Couldn't they have spent that money improving their workers' lives and working conditions?
Yes, they could have paid them more or improved their working conditions, but those things don't result in a tax break. And charitable donations do. Here's hoping she uses that money to lobby billionaires who don't pay their taxes, or just give it as a lump sum to the Amazon's workers' union. In December, a judge ordered Amazon to stop penalising union workers. Interestingly, the Washington Post went with a different headline for this article. Judge orders Amazon to be more subtle and creative in the ways that it punishes workers for trying to unionise. TLDR, a judge found that Amazon broke the law in how they fired Gerald Bryson and asked Amazon to stop breaking the law. Well, I think we can all agree that when absolutely tiny fines don't work, you start asking tech monopolies nicely, and that usually solves the issue. To end the year, Amazon announced they're going to invest $1 billion yearly to produce films for theatres. Judging by what it costs to make a film these days, that means they'll be making 3 a year. I've got some ideas. I know what you ordered last summer. The Ring Doorbell. And 28 hours later, the story of a humble delivery man lost in a post-apocalyptic world determined to deliver me my custom fuzzy socks. Jeff, if you're listening, I'm happy to write any and all of these for you. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this, like it, share it, comment below, subscribe, all the good stuff. The other videos in this series are also linked below. Godspeed. I'll see you all next year.